Hello everyone, I'm Wong. I'm based in Hong Kong. As you have probably seen in TV news lately, Hong Kong has a lot of political tensions these days. We are still a half-baked democracy. We have very weak civil society, and the public participation or engagement kind of process is very limited. So you can imagine that since we operate in this kind of atmosphere, and if we want to influence decisions and want to get our ideas across, we must know the best ways to do it. In recent years, I have been an advocate of different policy changes. Being an advocate, I think, is very different from being an activist. As an activist, you can condemn a system, you can condemn certain policies, and you can object, and you can initiate protests and signature campaigns and civil disobedience campaigns so that something does not happen. But as an advocate, I want things to happen, I want social change to happen, so I need to get my ideas across. And in this case, I find a tri-sector kind of understanding is very important. So what does I mean by that? Well, the world or the society normally has three sectors. We have the government sector, businesses, and then civil society. In Hong Kong, we have government being a very powerful player, and the business sector having all the resources available, but civil society is very weak. So if you are an entrepreneur, if you are a social innovator, and you want to get your idea across, how do you do it? Well, you must tell your story in a way that they will feel most comfortable with and they will feel most sure about, and so that there is an overall buy-in of your story. And if we have a tri-sector approach, it means that you must develop a certain empathy so that you can stand in their shoes. You think from their point of view to see what they fear about, what is it that they don't want to see, what is it that would help them to develop further their work and all the things that they're doing. In other words, the storytelling kind of ability is very important. So when I was an elected councillor, I served a very old neighborhood and an old district, and it was in the process of urban regeneration. In those days, it was very difficult to get the story across to government to say that, look, even there are actually a lot of treasures and good values embedded in an old community. If you say it like that, it's actually very difficult for them to comprehend and also for them to buy in. So the way to do it is to get the residents together and to go and talk to the government officials together so that through their stories, the government officials will hear what the real situation is in the community, and perhaps there'll be more buy-in. And recently at the Goodlab, this is a social innovation hub I have founded, and you see part of the Goodlab right here behind me. I have initiated something called a tri-sector leadership workshop. A lot of government officials and civil servants, so people with more power and more resources than me, would come to my training sessions. And I have developed certain experiences for them to understand so that they have a more civil understanding of what the problems are. And these kind of activities or experiences include, very simply, a human library approach. For those of you who have not had a human library experience, it's actually a lot of fun. A human library is that you read people like a book. So I would actually ask very different people to join the session. And these people would go to the civil servants and say, okay, come on, you can ask me questions, I will tell you a story, just read me like a book. And it started off a bit awkward most of the time, but after about half an hour, I can see smiles on the civil servants' faces. It's as if they have never understood what people think normally, but through this human library kind of contact, they were able to feel, you know, the crux of the matter. So what is actually wrong? And so they were able to develop this kind of empathetic understanding. And hopefully that would carry forward in the sort of policy decisions they will make. Another thing I've done is also, it's very simple, but please remember the context I work in. It's a half-baked democracy where government has a lot of powers and where businesses have a lot of resources. I actually take them to street tours and to walk around the community. Now, believe me, a lot of government officials, they work in air-conditioned rooms in their central government offices, and they seldom go into a real community and have the opportunity to talk to shopkeepers, to talk to homeless people, and to talk to people from all sorts of walks of life. Through a 2-hour walk, a 3-hour walk, and at the debriefing, I would also see people and government officials being very, very much inspired, and they are also ready to change and to see how a policy is actually taking shape in the community, in the real community, and that is affecting real people. I don't really have a lot to tell you, but I hope that through the project you're doing and through the brilliant ideas that you want to preach and you want to sell to people more powerful than you, please perhaps think about it from a tri-sector approach, and to think about different versions of the story to tell to government officials and to tell to people who are affected by the policies, and perhaps then you can also find a multiple perspective way to tell your story. And as an exercise, I guess you can identify 2 or 3 people who are very, very different, but who need to buy into your idea and think about different angles and different perspectives of the same story and the same idea you want to preach. Thank you.